Hi, I'm Aaron, and these are 3 things that you need to know about why sustainability matters in design. Number one, buildings and their operation are very energy intensive. The construction industry contributes to up to 40% of all landfill waste, and in the US, 48% of all energy used goes toward the operational phase of buildings. And unless you've been living under a rock, you know about something called climate change, and you know we need to drastically reduce our energy consumption and our waste streams. Number 2, our resources are finite. That means they do not go on forever. They are not infinite. I'll tell you a story. In 1722, Easter Island was rediscovered about 3,200 kilometers off the western coast of South America. And when they rediscovered the island, the explorers noted there was very little vegetation that was over 10 feet tall, and there were very little animals left on the island that were much larger than an insect. There were 4,000 inhabitants of the island. They discovered these huge statues, and that's what Easter Island is best known for. And they wondered, how are these people able to make these statues? Because the reality is there was no vegetation hardly, and there was nothing with which they could make tools. So biologists took a really hard look at Easter Island, and they discovered that they'd actually been inhabited since about 400 AD. So biologists discovered that between 400 AD and 1722 AD, the island at one point had 20 to 22,000 inhabitants on it in a very specific and organized social structure. But what ended up happening is over the hundreds of years of progression, they didn't understand that they had to regenerate the land. They had to regenerate nature, or else it wouldn't be able to sustain that level of inhabitants. So it was essentially at one point a total paradise with palm trees that grew 80 feet tall, had now become essentially a wasteland. So if we don't take heed and learn from the mistakes of people in the past, I feel like we might be doomed to repeat it. So in the construction world, we can't treat our resources as though they are infinite. Not everything comes from just the hardware store. Our energy just doesn't come from a plug in the wall. It all comes from nature. And number 3, building sustainably is simply a better way to live. When your impacts are positive, when you're living in concert with nature and your building is designed in concert with nature, we can actively fight climate change, and you know that you're doing your best, or you're doing your part in mitigating what is hopefully not an inevitability in the collapse of our ecological and biological and eventually social systems. I hope these 3 things gave you a little more insight into sustainable design. I don't do any social media marketing, so if you've enjoyed this content, please pass it along to someone you think might enjoy it too. And if you want to work with me or submit a question for my FAQ videos, please visit albatrossdesigndraft.com. Be well.